We've been accumulating plants, we've been going to the greenhouses and the garden shops. We've been picking up all this new stuff. It's about getting this time in North Carolina where all of these plants behind me, they'd perish on a porch. So that's what we're doing. We're building a plant room. Another very exciting thing about what's going on just in my personal world is that I'm finally, you hear this right here, guys? When I'm talking into this microphone right on my shirt, I'm finally using a wireless microphone. All of the YouTubers I've been watching it just seems like, I don't know what's happened, but suddenly everybody's got freaking lapel mics and they're sounding beautiful. I've got to up my video game. I've actually had this lapel mic, this wireless lapel mic for a long time. I just haven't used it because, I don't know, it's a little bit, I like kind of the freedom of being able to wiggle my hand around and not worry about it. But I think this is actually going to be a good thing. It's one of those things that, you know, why haven't I been using this lapel mic? Did I mention it before? We're reorganizing the plant room. In fact, we're creating a plant room from scratch. I've got all sorts of stuff. I've been waiting for all sorts of things in the mail. I've got all sorts of projects to show you about. We're going to do a plant tour. We're going to go through pretty much most of my collection except for the things that are in, you know, local stores in my town. All right. I don't know what to do from here. Was that good? Was that a good enough intro? Let's actually just dive into this project. Let's start rearranging. What are we going to do first? Let me set you down for a spill. I don't know what it is, but I just enjoy getting strange camera angles. I find that kind of part of my what do you call it when it's like your shtick? I'm always talking about people's shticks with my family. This is kind of my shtick. My brain kind of flutters around a lot like that, so that's how I try and shoot my videos. I move things around and I try my very dang best to describe what I'm actually thinking at the moment. And right now we got to concentrate because we're creating a brand new plant room. Are you excited? I'm excited. You know why I'm excited? I'm excited because I'm using this brand new mic, and I just kind of feel like the quality of this video is going to be, I feel like it's going to blow my mind when I'm editing this thing, unless the actual sound doesn't work. If the sound doesn't work, you'll probably never see this. You see this shelf behind me? Do you actually see it? Right behind me? This bookshelf? It's been an original piece. Can I actually fit an entire plant tour into this video too? I'm darn well going to try. Let's start with these ones. These have become one of my favorite plants of the whole season. I've had these just for this summer. This is called a waffle plant, and this is a snow white waffle plant, just another version. And the reason I like these things so much is because when I first got these plants, this one, it didn't react very well to when it wasn't being watered. If I didn't keep the soil moist, these leaves would just sort of like drop and droop. It would almost look like this plant was dead. But then when I come back around, when I'd moisten the soil, this thing would just perk back up as if new life had been sprung into it. And just the interactivity of this plant is what has made me love it the most. We're just trying to dive into the room redesign here. But I'll show you a bunch of cool stuff as I'm doing it. Propagation tubes. Now, if you're an avid watcher of my videos, you'll know about our pitcher plant that we just received in the last few days or so. Interesting thing about this pitcher plant, I'm not going to go through all the plants right now, don't worry. Do you see those little specks of you see those little specks that look like seeds in there? All of those are little bugs that have been flying around in this room that this pitcher plant has been catching for me. These are two of my plants that I fear the worst for. And now that we've talked a little bit about death, look at the brand new pot of life that I've got. Look at all these dwarf jade plants. Again, if you're an avid video watcher of mine, you'll have seen my dwarf jade forest. I'm sure I'll show it in this video too. Again, this is going to be an entire plant tour. Imagine a word jumble and all the words have just gotten dispersed into the puzzle. That's what I'm doing when I'm uncovering this shelf right here. And do you hear how crystal clear you are, no matter how far away I hold the camera? Isn't that cool? And then of course, although I can't show it to you in crystal clear HD, we've got our terrarium. And part of this video is going to be me showing you all of the new terrarium projects I've kind of got cooking up. I've got a whole bunch more of these containers waiting in the closet back there. The coolest thing about this plant is when I first got this thing, it was bright neon yellow. You see those leaves right there? As soon as I moved into the plant room here, it started just growing. Look at this. The color has just changed drastically. I just think that's so cool. So this is like a Swedish ivy plant that I've had growing in here. And it's become one of my favorites because of its interactivity that's been doing with me. It's one of my favorites. The Florida Ghost Philodendron. Where should we put you for now? I guess right down there with the rest of the plants. A few more little knickknacks on the shelf here. To be honest with you, I'm not even going to tell you what this means. It's just something that's very special to me and something that I've held with me as long as I can remember in this life. We've got the final plant removed from the shelf. Our Cebu Blue pothos. You know, just another one of those vining plants. I bought another vining plant on that same day called a Rex Begonia. And I talked about that plant in my video where I designed the display that I made for a store called Tangles. And, you know, as much as it pains me, the Rex Begonia is not in my care. I only had that plant for a few days before I actually put it out into one of the local stores in my town. But the good news is we decide to move that shelf. How about over there on that wall? I keep on feeling like I have to talk louder. But then I remember that I have my lapel mic on, my wireless lapel mic. And I don't even have to be in front of the camera. And you can still hear me crystal clear, can't ya? Let's just move this shelf to the side for a second. I think what I'm actually going to do, I think I'm going to take this shelf right here, and when I move this bookshelf that's over here, I'm going to replace it with this one over there. Okay. I think it needs to come over just slightly, a little bit that way. Polka dot begonia. I couldn't wait to say this one from the very beginning of the video. Let's get this into place and let's start kind of envisioning how this plant room is going to come together. Maybe move it a little bit closer to the plug. No, you know what? We're going to back it away from the plug. We've got that. We've got that, which I think is going to stay right in front of the window because, you know, I've got to have a spot for just plants that love window space, like our Madagascar palm right here. Is that how you say it? Madagascar palm. And our desert rose, which was one of my most recent injuries. Should I talk about that now? No, I'm not quite sure what happened to this desert rose. But I know that when I got this plant, I learned that this thing loves full sun. I don't know what actually happened to this. It may have been these grow lights right behind me. Do you see them? It may have been these grow lights that I purchased. Or it could have been the fact that I actually overwatered this plant. I'm not sure which one it was. Overnight almost. Just decided to just destroy its leaves. And it's one of those kind of unsuccessful things that I'm having that hurts my heart a little bit, but I'm also trying to find the learning experience in all of this. And while we're here talking about unfortunate plant incidents, I might as well get this next one out of the way. This is my one of my ficus bonsai plants here. Look how well this one's doing, huh? Got it planted in a nice pot. I've actually got this one kind of waiting for a trim. Look at this next plant. That's the same, almost identical plant that lived outside for just a little bit longer. And something out there, so I don't know what it was. I just find it so interesting that these are almost exactly the same plant right here. Let's fill up some of these shelves. Let's start getting everything into place. Let's start uncluttering some of this deorganization. Let's start organizing some of the unorganization behind me. Now, what should be the first plant to get us started on the shelves here? I've been eyeing one of the OGs. I think we've talked about this one already, our Swedish ivy. Well, hopefully, eventually one of those vines stretches all the way down to the floor there. I guess that's the idea, right? I think our Ming Aurelia is going to, I We might hold off on this one. We might put it somewhere else, but maybe we'll just put this one right there for now. The thing that made me buy this thing is that I can put a plant that's too tall to fit in like a normal bookshelf on each one of these levels, and it can just kind of grow up, you know, as far as the ceiling anyways. Okay, next maybe we should go for our Florida Ghost philodendron. I know it's called a ghost philodendron, but just the fact that it looks like to me it looks like a dragon. The next plant I'm going to choose is my shingle plant, or my creeping philodendron, and this plant is actually due for an upgrade in a pot, something that it can grow up a little bit higher. In fact, I've got a bit of a vine kind of creeping off the edge of that thing. You see that? So I don't know. We'll put this in another one of our very, to me, specially reserved spots that is actually higher than most bookshelves gives you. Now our ZZ plant here, I'm waiting for the darkest little place in the room for this one, because this plant, it just is, it's invincible almost. Believe it or not, I'm the type of person that doesn't want a whole lot of things. I don't have a lot of clothes. I don't have a lot of shoes. My car is some dumpy old crappy Corolla that I drive around. But what I do love in my life is to come into a room like this, to come into a plant room that we're creating together, and to have a bunch of little spaces, little spots like this on the shelf, little areas like this, you know, everywhere we look, there's tiny little spaces for me to create a magical little thing to look at. And sometimes it's just going to kind of fill the peripheral of my vision. And other times, you know what? I'm going to get in there and I'm going to look at it a little bit closer. And again, I want to make this corner a little bit lush, sort of how this corner is already looking with my Monstera deliciosas. Does my fingers doing this, does it actually help you understand the lushness that I'm going for over there? I've got to find room for that shelf over there to display its terrariums. I'll just get that out of the way. Plus another thing that I'm going to tell you about in just a second. Let's shift this shelf over to there, and then hopefully we can fit both of these new pieces of furniture. We'll finally have everything into place, and then we can resume talking about plants and getting them into their specific spots. And yeah, I think I'm just going to pick up the shelf or the carpet completely. Oh, come on, baby. Let go. All right, maybe we should go ahead and place our bird's nest fern right down here. What about our elkhorn fern over there? Our asparagus ferns right here. These guys, they like a lot of moisture. They're kind of high humidity, just like the waffle plant over here. And they don't care too much about light. I think I'm going to let them live on just one of these little cubbies down here. Take a look at this plant right here. Let me give you an up close. This is commonly known as a Swiss cheese plant. And ain't it lovely? First house plant that I ever purchased that you could say actually kind of tipped me over the edge into the rabbit hole of this entire plant room that we're creating behind me. So I think I'm going to leave this Swiss cheese plant right here where it likes to be. I come in here and I spray it once in a while. I give it a little spritz. I keep its moss pole nice and moist. Our gold crested false Aurelia right here. Pretty cool. I might move it somewhere else. We've got our Ripple Jade plant right here. And a nice big one. I actually found this at like a grocery store. We've got some blushing begonia babies right down here. You see them in there? Ain't they cute? And we've got our fishbone cactus, which I haven't seen any growth except for, see that little different colored sprout in the middle? That's the only growth I've seen with this thing in the months that I've had it. And I don't know, it's sitting in its new spot here, and we'll see how it does from there. This is my sago palm, which I know is a little bit beat up looking. I know you can get these things for cheap at the big box stores right now, and they look a whole lot better than this. But you know what? I got this sago palm, you know, with only 2 little sprigs of sprout on there. And sometimes you just gotta have a plant in your collection that you just enjoy watching. In fact, every plant that you have in your collection, I would say that you should just enjoy watching. And I don't know, I hope that this video is full of a lot of different plant variety. That was kind of my idea from the beginning of this. It's to just reorganize the plant room, not only show off what I've currently got in my collection, but show off all the new space that we're going to create just by organizing the plant room here. And that's what really this is all about. You know, summer is ending, we're moving into fall, and it's time to come indoors. I used to think that winter was a depressing, negative time where everything sort of died off and everything just kind of became stagnant and boring for a while. But the beauty of having houseplants is that winter doesn't actually have to end. You can create a plant room like we're doing right here and be surrounded by whatever you want, to be honest with you. Just lush, beautiful, living, breathing plants is what I call them. I also feel like this microphone is kind of getting up into my face, and I don't know, I hope the audio is worth it, that it's up in my face like that, because it's really annoying to me, to be honest. Over here we're gonna get our boat lily. It's got a bunch of little babies in it, if you can see. And we're gonna put this one, I think we're gonna put this on the bottom shelf over here. That all of the light that comes in through these windows in the afternoon and blasts through here, it's to be honest with you, it's beautiful from about, let's say 2 to 6 or 7 o'clock this time of year. Oh yeah, there we go. Isn't it fun reorganizing plant rooms? I think it is. So that's the wall so far. Let's continue putting plants on there. Next will be our kokedama, because it's easy. It just goes right here beside the terrarium, although we gotta find a spot. Shift the terrarium a little bit. I really want to create like a little jungle vibe. My intention is that you have to look through that vine to kind of see what's going on behind there. And isn't that the most amazing thing about plant design? Is that this is what you get to work with. I debated, what video should I make for you today? Should I make a video about how I make these cement pots? Or should I make a video about reorganizing the plant room back here? And to be honest with you, what I was waiting on was that black shelf right back there. It hadn't come in the mail yet, but just in the nick of time, that shelf showed up on the doorstep. But coming up real soon, it's gonna be a video about how I make these cement pots. In fact, coming up next, the next video that I make is going to be about how I make these cement pots. It's something that I'm just really getting into. I'm just loving, I'm loving everything about it. I feel like this one is very delicate for the light. At least that's what it's been telling me so far. It doesn't really like to be in bright light. So I want to keep it sort of in the corner. Well, excuse me if I misspoke earlier. This begonia back here is actually a begonia amphixis. Amphioxus. Is that how you say that? Anyways, I mispronounced it earlier. I think I said it was a polka dot begonia. It is kind of polka dot. I'm gonna get this Monterey cypress out of here. Maybe let's put it. Does it fit? I think it fits perfectly. Whoop. I really am actually loving the way this shelf is displaying the plants all like individually. But how it has different, see how everything has different shapes? That's what's so cool. I'm gonna leave these two plants together because this is a jade plant right here. And this is it's my miniature dwarf jade plant forest. I think it was 2 videos ago. We've got this mess of things. We can't go minimalist on this style. We've got to go organic. And that's what we're gonna do here is we're gonna let these plants squiggle the lines of the square walls. And when you walk into this room, that's what it's gonna feel like. It's gonna feel like a squiggly, live, organic mess. And that's kind of the idea. I've been looking for a spot for my bonsai umbrella tree. Now, I will tell you one thing here too, while we're doing our little impromptu plant tour, is this plant is needing a repotting. Got my pink princess philodendron. We're gonna put it over here on the shelf somewhere. Originally, it was living up in that corner. And you know what? It seemed happy. I think we're gonna keep it back up there again. This is one. This is one that I needed the app for again. It's called an Aeonium lindleyi. Aeonium lindleyi. That likes very dry conditions, very dry soil, not very much light. So the best thing about this plant is that I've just been putting it somewhere that's kind of out of the way of everything and letting it be in a place where I can almost forget it. And isn't it nice to have I find the best thing about raising plants is that having those few plants, like the ZZ plant over there and like this plant right here, that you can just sort of place into the little corners. You can forget about them. They don't need much care. They don't want their soil to be moist at all. They just want everything to just kind of stay the same for a while. Those are the best ones because you can every once in a while look at them and say, oh, let me take a look at your new growth and let me see how you're doing. Okay, now we've got our Ruby Cascade, which I think being kind of a vining plant on its own, like a bit of a junior vining plant. We're going to put it behind our Cebu Blue Pothos. I think it looks pretty good so far. What do you think? It's called a Soft Rush, and it's been doing terrible. And I think it was because I got it too much sunlight in the very beginning when I first got this plant a few months ago. This one right here, which, to be honest with you, okay, let me tell you about this plant before I tell you the name, because I don't remember the name, to be honest with you. And I'm not sure if I'm going to remember it before I'm done ranting about this plant. But I've been trimming this thing. I've been trying to make it look more symmetrical. And you see how it just shoots out these little, it just shoots out these wild spikes that want to go so high. And I keep cutting them down. And I'm like, come on, guys, branch out. Okay, over here I've got a couple things to show you. Number one, take a look at this beauty. This is going to be eventually what's called a paludarium. And it's a project I got going on. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm still sort of in the planning stage of this, but it's going to be ultra cool. And this is the base of what's going to be a paludarium coming up in the future on this channel. Again, this shelf is going to be the shelf of projects that have yet to become, that have yet to bloomed. And speaking of projects that have yet to bloomed, as part of that paludarium project, I've got some specially ordered rocks. Believe it or not, you can actually go on Etsy, and people who live in Arizona, just someone who lives in Arizona, has found these massive kind of lava rock things that are just natural to their area, and they'll snap a picture of this thing. You can see exactly what rock it is. You can almost spin it all the way around, the way that they take the photos of every side and things like that. And a few dollars later, you've got this thing waiting on your doorstep. It's pretty crazy. I've got a whole box of these lava rocks from that same place. I'm going to put these aside. I think I'm going to shove these in the closet for now just to kind of get them out of the way. Let me show you some of the different terrariums I've got waiting. Whew. I feel nervous just handling it like this. Let's get it over here. This is just one that's simplistic and basic. It's your basic rectangle. And it'll go right here. So again, by displaying all my empty terrariums here, not only is it going to look kind of cool until we actually get these things filled up, but it's going to inspire me every time I walk in here when I see these things to say, oh yeah, I do have to come up with an idea for that. And that's the idea. Give yourself the building blocks. That's one thing that I've learned about doing these sort of things, is the hardest part is actually going out there and finding all the supplies and starting from scratch. But if inspiration hits and you want to build a terrarium and you've already got, a terrarium back here full of moss, you've got some sticks and you've got some rocks like you're waiting over there, and you've got all the building blocks that you need to actually put something together. You just need to have, maybe you got to get one or two little things to kind of tweak it in a certain direction. But having those building blocks lets you take that step towards actually making that terrarium that much easier. Look at this beauty. I don't even know what I'm going to do with this thing yet. There's the access right there. So this is going to be, this was one of those special things that I ordered. I just love this shape. I love the way that you can kind of every pane of these terrariums, you can look into there and you've got a different perspective. Imagine it as like as a piece of art with a frame around it. And every one of these different panels is a different perspective into the art, whatever's living inside of there. Whew, that's exciting, isn't it? Let's put this one right on that middle shelf. So I've got these things sitting right here too. And these are actually grow lights that I haven't got too much experience with. The one thing I know about these ones is if you kind of bend them around like a snake, it works best. And I'm not sure if I'm actually going to need these yet. I think I'm going to set them right here in the corner, and we're going to kind of leave these. We're gonna watch everything that we've got going on for now. We're gonna decide if we actually need to flip on that grow light. If anything looks like it needs a little bit more nutrition or a little bit more sunlight, it might be time to start wrapping up this video. I think we probably have room for one more shot where I just kind of tidy things up, where I clean everything up, make it look presentable, make it look like a finished product. Get these things out of the way, like this chair that we're no longer using. All my, equipment, like the spray machine over there and everything like that. What haven't I mentioned in this video? What plants haven't I mentioned? Let's see, I mentioned my bonsai umbrella tree. I mentioned all of this. I think I remember going through all of this. Ooh, I've got one that I haven't talked about down here. I've got a lipstick plant that I found on clearance that I'm trying to revive. I don't really know about this one. It's kind of in the hospital down there. I've got what's called a Tim Plowman over here. I'm as surprised as you are. I don't know what the heck a Tim Plowman is, but that's apparently what this plant is called. I've got a little taco plant over here, a taco shell plant. It seems to be doing okay. It likes a lot of full sun, and it seems to be enjoying this little spot here by the window, but we're still kind of keeping an eye on it. Our Hoya rope plant. Got our Burroughs tail, which is a slow grower. But I hate to have knocked one thing off, but all of this is new growth over the summer there. We've got our, what do you call that? Our Hoya glass something called a porcelain flower. That's what it's called, a porcelain flower. I looked it up. Now down here over in the corner, let me move the hand pan out. Maybe I'll try ending with a little hand pan, and if it worked, you won't. If it worked, you'll see this part. If it didn't work out, if I didn't play good to my expectations, then you'll probably never see that this part existed. But over here in the corner, I'm a little bit confused. I originally thought that this was a Song of India plant. I think this is actually just a dragon tree plant. This is one of the little babies I took from the mother plant that I put in a store called Tangles. And I've got that little dragon tree back there. And this is what's confusing, is this is, I think, a striped Dracena. But I've also been confused. Maybe it's called a Song of India plant. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure what this one is called. I got my other dragon tree. This is one of the first trees that I actually got back here. And all of this, of course, is new growth that's happened over the summer. You can see where I had a bit of an issue in the beginning, and I just lost a ton of these leaves over here. And then of course, left over here, we've got our two Monstera Deliciosa plants. We've got a little bit of a smaller one, a little baby plant over here. This is the brand new leaf that doesn't have any sort of, what do you call it when the leaves are separated? I don't know. It doesn't have any of that going on in it, but it does have its big old mama hanging right on top of it with its newest leaf, which I don't know, if you love plants, you gotta have one of these Monstera Deliciosas, don't you? I kind of feel like you have to have a Monstera Deliciosa. I've been working on actually hitting the notes 2 at a time. You'll see what I'm saying. Hold on. Hold on. See that? kind of screwed up there a little bit. One thing I didn't mention is that here in North Carolina, our houses get a little bit dry in the winter. We like to have our heat on and that sort of thing. It gets a little bit cold. It doesn't get really snowy, but it gets a little bit cold outside. And I wanted to fight that ahead of time with a humidifier. This is kind of a cool one because I can set it to automatically keep a certain humidity in the room. So I've got this one set to about 60%. Usually you want anywhere from 50 to 60% humidity in your room. That's kind of the optimal condition for most of these rainforest loving or tropical plants. This thing has kind of a 5% sway. So when it comes back down to 55%, it'll pump it back up to 60. So that's why I've set it up at 60. So it's always kind of hovering somewhere in between there. That's officially all I got for you. I'm fresh out of steam. And just when we thought we were done, two things happened. Number one, I'm always harping about taking a break. Well, I took a long break. It's now the evening around here. I've had a little bit of time to soak in the plant room. And two things happened. Number one, my wife yelled at me because I left that dog crate out there in the hallway. The thing I didn't really want to do, but I kind of felt in my soul that needed to happen, was I need to move my computer desk, and I think we're going to replace our jungle-looking scene over there in the corner. I think we're going to shift this computer desk right over there. Now, why am I doing that? Well, by moving the desk over into that corner there, we're going to utilize this space better. Let's just call it what it is and admit it. We're going to be able to open up this entire wall here. We'll shift these plants over to here somewhere. And then the other idea is that because we're going to have freed up all of this space right here, we'll create a little bit more of a corner over there. Maybe we'll be able to put our little shelf of terrariums that we've got sitting kind of shoved, behind our fern tree at the moment. Maybe we'll be able to shift that over to here somewhere. It's one of those things that's got to happen. So let's crack us a brew. Never mind, it's not a twist. I gotta go get an opener. Pause the shot. Let's crack us a brew. And yes, this is the coolest thing I could find to open my brew. I think we're gonna do this one quiet, guys. I think I'm going to, we'll probably time lapse this or something along those lines. So this part is actually a little bit weird. This desk is in two separate pieces, and that piece right there is sitting on top of the other one. So I'm going to stop the time lapse for now. You didn't think, whoa. What I was going to say before my monitor, actually lucky I was here to kind of save this thing with my back so it didn't smash into this piece of plastic. So that was a lucky save. I love it. I love that the computer is not the focal point of this room when you walk in. It creates a room that doesn't have a focal point, because the focal point is everything, and that's the idea. I want you to be able to spend time in here looking at each and every one of these plants, always finding something interesting to look at, but never one specific thing, right smack dab in the center of the room. I'm getting you a floor shot for this one. Okay, so we need to balance everything out, right? We're gonna move this over here. These guys out of here. I think what we need to do is put this deliciosa right in here. Okay. And my friends, let's just take a look before I actually say it. By golly, I think we finally got it. We'll give you the full tour once again. End this video with a bang. Whew. Doesn't it look better with everything spread out? I've almost forgotten about our new little shelf over here. Again, I just do love how everything's, there's so many busy little spaces. And I don't know about you, I didn't feel good about ending the video previously. If it's kind of weird, if I edited, if it turned out a little bit weird, well, that's because I started this video at the beginning of the day. I spent a little bit of time in this room and I just had to come back and fix it. I've still got some adjusting to do on those. Every time I try to close this video, I find one more thing to move around. At some point, we've just got to move past it. It's going to be a process. Things are going to change. Things are going to shift. That's going to be the fun of all of this. I think we can finally say that our room here is reorganized. I'll see you on the next one.